Hello, I'm Liz Zorab and this is Byther Farm, and today back out in the garden. I'm just having a pause and a cup of tea, much needed, because this morning I have lifted the last of the plants that were in this bed that had peas running down the middle of it. Well, they're finished now. We've had a nice harvest from those. And that was a variety called Progress Number 9. I'll certainly be growing those again. I really like the flavour of them. And outside, on each side of the peas, running along the length of the bed, I had Pentland Javelin. I've been harvesting those over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I've taken the last of those out today, which meant I had an empty bed to be able to use. So I had planted some purple sprouting broccoli, and this is for next spring, late winter. And we really enjoy purple sprouting broccoli when there's little else in the garden. Although maybe this year there will be, but usually there's not an awful lot else growing on. There'll be some leeks and some parsnips, a few cabbagey things, and to have those young fresh shoots of purple sprouting broccoli are really nice. So they've gone in the middle in 2 rows. As they get quite big as plants, if I plant them on the edge, their leaves are going to be touching the edge of the netting I'm going to put over them, which will make them vulnerable to caterpillars laying their eggs through the netting. So they'll be in a little bit, and hopefully by the time they've got big enough to be pushing out at the netting, they'll be fairly robust. And if a butterfly does lay its egg, or a moth lay eggs on it, then if they lose one leaf, it won't be the end of the world, and hopefully I'll have spotted it and pick that leaf off and the offending caterpillars by the time that happens. One of the things I've been really conscious of is that I net most of our brassicas, which means that the cabbage white butterflies and the cabbage moths don't have a home within our garden. So I've planted some red cabbage, and I've got a few more of these purple sprouted broccoli that we planted out in the open, which effectively sacrifice plants, but it does at least mean that this garden is helping to support those butterflies and moths. There's also space between the purple sprouting broccoli and the edge of the bed to put in another crop. The beetroot is a variety called Albina Veriduna. I grew this last year. I really liked it, and it's a white beetroot. Until recently, I didn't know that beetroot came in anything other than the very deep red that we see so often. But last year we started growing the white ones. This year we've grown beetroot choggia as well, which is the one that's got a pink and white concentric circles in it, and I'm really enjoying the variety. And a couple of days ago I planted a selection pack of seeds that also have an orange beetroot in them as well. I'm trying to sow these fairly thinly and spaced well apart, so that they have plenty of room to grow, and then I can also harvest them individually. One of the nice things about beetroot seeds is they're actually large enough to handle individually. And then the carrot seeds, I'll do more thickly than the beetroot were, but still I'm going to try and keep them spaced out, not too many really close together. If you're a member of the Byther Farm group on Facebook, you will already know this news, but Malvern Awesome Show have invited myself and 3 other YouTubers. That's Jane Kelly from Jane's Allotment, Vivi from What Vivi Did Next, and Hugh Richards, to form a panel to answer your questions live at the Malvern Autumn Show. And that runs the last weekend in September, and Jane, Vivi, Hugh and I will be there on Sunday in the potting shed at 2 o'clock. I also know lots of other YouTubers going, and we'll all be meeting up in the afternoon to say hello. Do come and join us and say hello as well. Please don't be backwards and coming forwards. It would be really nice to meet you. And to that end, the organisers have said that you can get a 10% discount on tickets for the Malvern Autumn Show, and for the first time those under the age of 16 will have entry to the show free of charge. So for crop rotation this year, this bed has had legumes in the middle and potatoes on the outside. Now it's got brassicas and root vegetables, and next year I think next year I'll be also planting onions in here. And someone asked me in my live chat recently, when I was saying about when I get an empty space I just put in whatever I've got ready, and they said, well, how does that work for crop rotation? And it does kind of work because most of the beds are mixed planting, so most of the beds have got a combination of onions and carrots, or root vegetables and legumes. And as long as I hadn't put beans straight back in here or another load of potatoes, I think at this such a small scale it would be fine. So the only thing left to do with this bed today is to get the netting over it and secure that, and to get all of those peas that I lifted up onto the compost heap. When I put those purple sprouting into the ground, I gave them a really good soak with water, and I also watered the rest of the bed so that those seeds have gone onto damp soil. One of the things that is so important for carrots is that they don't dry out while they're germinating, and it's been really hot and dry, and using this netting does help to reduce the amount of evaporation of the water. I will need to water this bed quite a few times if we don't get any rain, and if it's warm and windy, both of which dry the soil very quickly. With my other lengths of netting, I've actually sewn a seam along here which closes up these holes. I haven't with this one, so there is more risk that a butterfly will get in there. I'll just have to be a bit more vigilant, and for the last couple of years I've had the netting like this. It hasn't been perfect, and yes, the butterflies have got into it, but it will do for now. And I'm just using these pots to hold down the netting on this side. I am really conscious that if it's not held down adequately, birds can get under it. Not those birds, small birds can get under it and get trapped in the netting. So I'll go and get some lengths of wood to hold it down this side too. The only thing left to do is to secure the ends. Right now I'm just going to use a brick. I'll gather this together and make it as sealed as I can so that birds can't get in there. And at a later moment, when I found them, I've got some tent pegs with quite a nice hook on the end of them, which I can push into the ground, gather this up, tie it together into a bunch, and then use the hook to pin it down, and that holds the ends really nicely. Well, that's this bed done. Just need to get this onto a compost heap and then start on the next bed. I think it might be time to start a new compost heap. So wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you'll join me again next time.